Welcome to Navigate STL Schools. My name is Anastasia, and I'm here with Emily Roth and Julie Soffner. And let's have them introduce themselves.
Hi, everybody. I'm Emily Roth. This is my fourth year as principal of St. Cecilia Catholic School in South City.
And my name is Julie Soffner. I'm the executive director of the Today and Tomorrow Educational Foundation.
Awesome. So before we get started with anything, we always ask everyone the same question. What is your personal K-12 education story?
Sure. I have a pretty unique one in that I was born and raised here in St. Louis. Then I went off to college in San Diego. And then I took a 13-year stint where I taught and coached in international schools. So all over the world. I was in Trinidad and Tobago, Guatemala, which is where I learned Spanish, Abu Dhabi for 7 years, and then Malaysia for the last 2.
My K through 12 story is I was public school educated, K through 8, and then attended Catholic high school, 9 through 12.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about the work that you do and why it's important.
So as the principal of St. Cecilia, really my role is to remove barriers for teachers to be able to do what they need to do to impact student learning. And so, with partnership from organizations like TTEF and other community partnerships like Navigate St. Louis schools, it really allows our students to have incredible opportunities that otherwise wouldn't be present for them.
Yeah, for Today and Tomorrow Educational Foundation, we exist because of the Catholic schools. So we're a 32-year, coming up on our 33rd year organization, and our number one mission is to make Catholic or private faith-based school attainable for families who are choosing a values-based education. And we do that by providing scholarships so families can make that choice.
Awesome. So Today and Tomorrow scholarships, Catholic school students, do they work with like Lutheran schools or anyone else?
Absolutely. So one of our primary programs, the Help for Today, Hope for Tomorrow program, is city-based. It would be the one that matches most closely with our partnership with Navigate STL Schools. And we have that's our private school, any family that resides in the city of St. Louis, no matter what private school you choose, your child, if income eligible, would be able to apply for a scholarship from Today and Tomorrow. So though 85% of our students attend a Catholic school, it could be Lutheran, it could be any other denomination. It also could be a private city school like City Academy or the South City Community School.
Oh, wow. So you said eligibility requirements. Who's eligible to receive these scholarships?
So the majority of our families are income eligible, and we use the free and reduced lunch guidelines. So we exist purely to make sure that families of all income levels have the ability to choose a private school. Typically at the 100% or 200% of free and reduced lunch is what would deem eligibility. But, there's a lot of mitigating factors. If a family would maybe lose a spouse, if a parent would lose their job, there are some unique opportunities for us to be able to come in and make some individual decisions on families that will allow them to stay in the private school of their choice.
So do they apply for a scholarship with you and then you connect them to a school, or do they get connected to a school first?
Such a great question. I'd probably say 50-50. It happens. So what we often see with St. Louis families is they have the desire to send their child to a school like a St. Cecilia. It's aspirational. They see it in their community. They see other children walking down, Eichelberger to get to that school, but they think it is unattainable. So oftentimes they'll apply for a scholarship and have not yet applied to their local city school. Once they hear from us at Today and Tomorrow that they've gotten the scholarship, then we will say, great, you listed St. Cecilia, but you're not enrolled there yet. Go back and we'll work with the school at that time. The inverse of that is that Emily probably gets applications all year long of families wanting to make a shift over to their school for a variety of reasons. And then she will reach out to us and say, I have a family. I have a little bit of local aid, but will you be able to help them with the scholarship? So we really have a great partnership there.
I would just say that 100% of our families do receive that scholarship. So we do have, and then we have above and beyond that, we have other opportunities for scholarships.
Okay, so what does it actually mean to get a Catholic education? Like, how is it different from like regular private school or even like public school?
Mm-hmm. Well, Julie and I were talking about this earlier. You can kind of interchange the faith-based or values-based education, but really our mission, we have a lot of the same curriculum that a public school might have, but really our focus and the reason we exist is part of our mission statement is to educate students for the glory of God. And so our students attend Mass once a week together. Service is an important part of, who we are to be able. So we will work on service projects from kindergarten through 8th grade. Together, we have different opportunities throughout the school year where we are working on some of those values that we see in Jesus that we want our kids to emulate.
So speaking of like faith-based education, my father always used to say he went to Catholic school and the nuns would like swat him on his hands make him like really focus in class. How has Catholic education changed over the last couple of years, and what are some of the misconceptions you want parents to kind of have debunked?
Well, hopefully that is not happening anywhere. Gosh.
He's old though, so like this was like the 60s for him getting a Catholic school education.
It's really interesting to hear you say that, and I'm glad as the principal of a Catholic school that you're chuckling over that. But it's so intriguing to me. One of the biggest shifts that's happened over the last 50 years in the Catholic school system is that the majority of the teachers and leadership at Catholic schools were religious. Mm-hmm. And part of that was just a mindset. I mean, I think that's how our neighborhoods were probably raising kids. In our neighborhood, we were raised that way. I could hear my mom saying, if you're hugging yours, hug mine. Mm-hmm. If you're swatting yours, swat mine. Mm-hmm. It probably was just 50 years ago. I'm sure it was a way of just raising up kids. The interesting thing is that now with less religious leadership in the schools and there being more lay leadership, I love that, Emily, that you mentioned how that there's so many similarities to the great public schools that are also in our communities, and then we're just adding the layer of values-based. Mm-hmm. But, it's funny that you say from a discipline standpoint, I would probably say that there is still an underlying form of, you talked about social service, social justice, going out and serving our communities. It's shifted more to that way of self-control and using your abilities as a young student to go out and make change and have the discipline to worry about not just yourself, but others in your community. And I think it really more closely mirrors what's going on in the world today, social justice schooling.
Yeah, I would add, the terminology that a lot of schools you hear is restorative practices. Mm-hmm. And so that is something that is very important to us, because when students just get punished for something that they've done, what have they learned from that? Nothing. To try and maybe not to get caught next time, right? So we really have focused a lot of our professional learning for our staff the last year, and we're continuing this year, on how do we create inviting environments where all students feel a sense of belonging, and that when somebody causes harm to another person, because it's going to happen. Schools are places where we're learning, right? Mm-hmm. So students are not only learning how to read and write, but how to behave and interact with other members in society, right? So when that harm is caused, instead of sending the kid away or being punished, instead it's, let's have a conversation about that. Maybe we need to take a breath. Maybe we need to step back. What's going on? What happened here? And then go into how are we going to restore, how are we going to repair that harm, restore that relationship? And so we use a variety of different strategies, and it's all individualized based upon the student, the situation, everything. But really it's keeping the dignity of the child. That's our biggest thing, because we know as adults we want to be treated with dignity. Students and children, doesn't matter if they're 5 years old, that should be no different. And so we really believe that as a Catholic school, that's what Jesus did, is that he kept even, all of the sinners, right? Like he kept the dignity of every person and made them feel loved and cared for, that they were number one in his eyes. And so that's what we really try to make happen at St. Cecilia and in Catholic schools in general.
Okay, so in thinking about like the dignity of a person, like how who is Catholic school for? Are they open to all types of families, all types of backgrounds? Like, are there people who are excluded from Catholic education? If you have an IEP, can you go to a Catholic school?
Oh, I love this question.
Yeah. This is great. Absolutely. Catholic school is for everybody. We have in our Catholic schools across the city, and even in my school, not everybody is Catholic. Not even our staff is all Catholic. So we recognize that everybody brings, we invite everybody. We recognize that everyone brings their own gifts and talents. And, students with IEPs are welcome, to apply as well. Our biggest thing is we want to make sure that we have the supports in place so that all of our students are successful. So once again, the application process is all individualized. We go through a screening process where it really is just a chance to get to know the child, get to know the family. Because one thing that's really important for us is that there is a partnership. So between the school and home, we know from tons of research that the way that students are going to soar and their achievement is going to soar is when there is a partnership between home and school. So we do take that part seriously, and because we know it's what's best for kids.
I will add to that. I love just listening to your passion for your school is, I'm sure that you get exposed to a lot of this, but your passion for your school is overwhelming. Of the Catholic schools in St. Louis City, one of the things that I think is so important to keep in mind is that we have some schools where up to 85% of the students are not Catholic. And those Catholic schools have become as much of a community anchor and a beacon. And then in your population at St. Cecilia, it's heavily Hispanic, and we have some deep, deep Catholic roots there. But I love that you used the word belonging, that everyone belongs. And that's so different from fitting in. I spent the day at St. Cecilia yesterday, and there is such a sense of belonging. You can bring your whole self to the school, and we will find what the best resources are for you and for your family. I think that's probably a big misunderstanding, is that as a family who would love to go to Catholic school, you feel like you may have to be attached to a parish or a regularly attending parish member. Of course, we have a lot of families that might end up, the child brings Jesus home to the family, sometimes the families convert, but I think it's just that values-based belonging, safety, community. We just keep using these words that are really the foundational aspects of everything that we do.
When I was going to add, when I was originally hired 4 years ago, I was asking different community members, the families, students, staff members, what is it about St. Cecilia that you love? And over from all of the stakeholders, it came down to, it feels like a family. So that's what I think is really special about our little school, but also about many of the schools, is that sense of we are a team, we are a family, even though we all may be different. And one of our values at St. Cecilia is embracing diversity. And that could, a lot of people think diversity and they just think race, but it's so many other things for us. We're recognizing that we are all different and we all bring beautiful gifts to the table.
So I think, Julie, you mentioned the Catholic schools being like neighborhood anchors. And, that really used to be the thing. I'm pretty certain for most of us when we went to school, you just went to the elementary school down the block and then that was kind of it. Or you went to the school that was attached to your parish or your church. What do you think is one of the greatest challenges in that shift from having community or neighborhood schools to now having schools where kids can kind of go from anywhere in the city?
Yeah, I've lived all over. Emily, you have also had, a wide variety of experiences over the years. And St. Louis is so unique in that we almost run regionalized schools. More families choose to drive their families to schools that are out of the community than any other city that I've ever lived in. And I've been all over the United States. So we do have a unique dynamic here. I think that the resurgence, I have no statistical data to back this up, but I do believe that there's something, particularly post-COVID, about people needing community and looking for engagement and wanting to be back out. I have this visual in my head of when my own kids went to school and they would sit on the front porch and the little band of kids that would come down the hill in our neighborhood would just get bigger and bigger. They'd almost just be like a little kid train picking up the next house and then the next house. And then mine would run down our driveway and kind of get in the kid train and they'd all walk to our neighborhood school. I do believe that there is a desire to have that back. And though many people in St. Louis make the choice to take their kids to their school of choice, there are still families, and I believe that there's a resurgence of people looking for that community. And we're coming out of the desperation that came with isolation for 3 years, and we are able to become a part of that because we are in the neighborhoods serving the communities. And by the way, not just the school. The school is one component of what might also have a preschool, an aftercare, a housing assistance, a food bank. So the whole concept of community, the school is just an anchor of that. Mm-hmm. Do you see that come to play at your school community?
Definitely. One thing that I have noticed at times is, one thing we try to do is connect our families because people will move to the city and then it's really hard in the city to, meet your neighbors, friends. Okay, who wants to, my kid wants to play in the street with somebody else, like who to make sure that they're safe. And obviously safety is the number one thing. So like Julie was mentioning, having not only the school, but then one thing that we are at St. Cecilia are really trying to do is bring back some of those community events, where families can come and there can be some socialization and just connection making so that they can, because the school, she was saying, is the beacon and that anchor so that it's not just school, but then those partnerships or, we're getting together this weekend or because we all as human beings thrive on connection. We're born to be able to have that connection with other human beings.
That's really, really important. I think that you really hit on like a lot of key figures in terms of community, connection, and all of that. What do you think is one of the reasons, or maybe the top reason, that parents do choose that faith-based, values-based Catholic education?
I know that at our school, a lot of our families, they are, like I said, some of them are Catholic and want that Catholic education for their child. Some who are not Catholic want that family connection feel. They want a safe place. I know that some people who have transferred from other schools, especially in our middle school, and these are kids who will say things to me like, wow, our other school had lots of fights in the building. And, you know, I pride our community and our school on being a very kind and caring community but safe place for our kids. And so the kids, any expectations that you have for students K through 8, I believe kids can rise to that. But we have to keep those high expectations and along with the support. And so, you know, new students coming in that may have experienced, you know, unsafe situations in other schools quickly learn, oh, that's not the way that it's run here. But that I am still a safe member of this community and I belong and I am an important voice here.
Yeah, I would say you're speaking to the micro at your school, and you are a very good window of the macro that I see, scholaring 130 schools, 6,000 students that we scholar across a very, very wide range. And overarching, when we get phone calls into Today and Tomorrow saying, I need to make a change. I know it's mid-year, or I know school is 1 week away from starting, but I need to make a change. It is typically because there is some sort of a social component, something where they feel a need that they have to make a change for their child. And safety is often the number one issue. We have so many phenomenal public school options. I think that it's easy to say, everybody wants to shoot and say they're leaving unaccredited schools. That isn't what we hear. People just want to make a choice. Maybe it's a multi-generational household. Maybe we've seen more and more grandparents raising kids, and they're looking for support morally, socially, ethically, just with helping raise their children, and all of that happening in a safe environment. So I think you nailed it on the head across the board for sure.
Okay, so you guys mentioned safety, you mentioned connection, you mentioned community. What are other factors that parents should be weighing when considering a Catholic education? Because Catholic schools are considered private independent schools, correct?
They are.
Which means that they aren't taking the state test scores like MAP and things like that. So what other factors, if parents wanted to evaluate Catholic schools academically, should they consider?
So we do actually take the MAP test, or, Iowa test. We're making the shift. And we definitely have all of the schools, not just my own, but we definitely we're driven by data and we're driven by student growth. So my biggest thing, because I'm a mother of 3 girls ranging from 8 to 16 years old, a reminder to parents that we as their parents are their first and best advocates. And so we know our kids best. I would say get into the schools where you're looking, take a tour. Your instinct will feel, you'll be able to sense, is this a good place for my students, for my child? Is this a kind, supportive environment? Because we know through Maslow's hierarchy that if students don't feel safe, if they don't feel a sense of belonging, they cannot get to that place where they will learn. Right? So we want to make sure that those things are in place as well.
I'll just add, thank you, that I love listening to you from the educational standpoint, which I do not bring to the table here. But I, from the educational component at the higher level of our school district of the Archdiocese, I think that parents should also understand that in addition to rigorous educational expectations, similar to what Emily just described, we are reinvesting back into the special education initiative. So I love that originally you asked about IEP students who learn differently. We are absolutely committed. It's part of our social justice mission, that diversity component of making sure that we have better resources for our students. So don't discount us thinking that you have to go to a public school with special school district resources. We could be the perfect blend of values-based and any needs-based. And then I guess unrelated to the education, because Emily did such a great job talking about high expectations there, I just would say that I think many parents believe that parochial school is unattainable, that you have private charters, You have public charters, you have the great public school in your community. And, how could I afford, or how could I make this happen? There are so many resources available, offered through Today and Tomorrow and through local funding at each one of the individual private schools that are in the Archdiocese. Please, please, please don't not look at us because you're worried about tuition.
And I know you keep speaking. Julie always inspires me to say one more thing. Another thing that I would add as a little advice for parents or guardians seeking new schools is to educate yourself on what are the top best practices in education as you're going and looking at schools. And maybe that's teaming up with Navigate St. Louis to stay on top of those. What are the best trends? Because I'm sure, you're a lot younger than Julie and I, but I don't. What just happened here? But I remember in school, when I went to school many, many years ago, it was all, a good classroom or a good, teacher was one where it was like you walked into a classroom and it was quiet. All the kids are in line, rows, and everybody is quiet. And then you're reading the chapter in social studies textbook, and then you're regurgitating that information in a test the next day. And we know that a lot of those things aren't best practices anymore. I love, as a principal, when I am going into a classroom, and at first I'm like, where's the teacher? And then I see, they're, squatted down next to a child, helping that child, but guiding them, not giving them the answer, but helping them figure out where they need to be. And there's a healthy buzz of noise level in the classroom. I see small groups of learning. Personalized learning is what we really try to focus on at St. Cecilia, so that, because we know that every child is different, every child, so that's why we focus on student growth, and we look at the data. Where can we really target our instruction to grow each and every individual child to the best of their ability?
Julie, you mentioned local support and local dollars. If people wanted to donate, how do they do that? And then also, I've heard a lot about like this new Most Scholars program. Is that something that people could participate in also?
Thank you so much. It does take a village to keep our schools roaming, and you can always make a donation directly to a school that you have identified that you want to support. If you want to support the greater good, the funnel just kind of continues to open. Today and Tomorrow is a scholarship organization, which means that we're probably granting about $7 million in scholarships year over year. We make a commitment to take a child from K through 8th grade. So we never stop fundraising. We are always open and willing to talk to potential donors to make a donor for the greater good. And thank you so much for mentioning Most Scholars. Most Scholars is a new program that the state of Missouri instituted just one short year ago, and it has taken off like gangbusters. So Most Scholars is 100% tax credit donation, and the state of Missouri has designated an educational fund to support students and student school choice. So we have, in the past year, raised $3.2 million unrelated to Today and Tomorrow fundraising, dedicated towards the Most Scholars Fund, and that fund is given back to students that either have an IEP or are in the 100% free and reduced lunch eligibility, the financial eligibility pool. And I'm really excited to say that with that dedicated fundraising, we've been able to put 465 students in school this current school year on a $6,300 scholarship. So the ability for us to keep the dollars flowing is critical to keeping the children in the schools.
And my question to both of you, and I'm going to ask it in a different way. To your point, Julie, what gives you hope in terms of more people being able to access faith-based education or make education choices for their children regardless of financial cost? And then, Emily, to your previous point of rigorous academics and test scores and just the changing dynamic in the classroom and teacher-student interaction and implementing best practice, what gives you hope for the future of education in general?
Oh my gosh. That's the power. I'll let you end with the power one because I think the outcomes for the students matter the most. Yeah. So I'd love to let you take that. For me, what gives me the most hope is that there are so many generous St. Louisans that understand that education is absolutely going to be a catalyst for change. It's so challenging to keep opening the paper or watching the news and hearing over and over and over again about what's wrong with St. Louis. And what we find with our donor base, who, by the way, they are unrelenting, they are committed, and they believe that education, if done well and done right, is going to be part of the solution. And that's what gives me the most hope, is that year over year, we continue to put more and more and more students in schools that families think is best for them. And I do believe that we're going to see a changing tide economically, postgraduate, keeping our students here in St. Louis, giving them excellent post-graduation employment opportunities. And our donors believe that also. So they're in it for the long haul.
To add on to Julie's thoughts, the power of the community of St. Louis has been incredible. We've really, I remember when I was first hired at St. Cecilia, I also, knowing that almost 100% of my students were on free and qualified for free and reduced lunch, I knew, okay, I'm going to be doing I want to do a lot of grant writing. I want to make this school the best it can be for our kids. They deserve that. It was getting a little overwhelming. And then I figured out, wow, I have this amazing access to this advancement office today and tomorrow who they're going to write the grants and they're going to get scholarships for kids. They're going to help me get the funding for all the things that we need so I can focus on our kids and growing, attending to the needs of our kids and our staff and our families. So with that partnership, we've been able to tap into other community organizations who want to invest in not only our kids at St. Cecilia, but who are thinking more broadly in the infrastructure of St. Louis and how are we investing in our youth so that we're building up their skill sets and creating this connection between them and St. Louis so that they want, even if they go, that they'll want to return to St. Louis to grow our city even stronger. And then as far as when you spoke about the rigorous education and all of that, I think that one thing that's really near and dear to my heart that we really try to develop in our students and our staff is having a growth mindset. So that what that means is I will never stop learning. And I think that's how we create resilience in people. It doesn't matter how old they are, once again, if they're kids or adults, because life is full of challenges and there are going to be lots of setbacks that get you down. But what's really key is how you get back up. And so building that within our staff, we have ongoing professional learning for our staff so that we can stay on top of best practices to support our learners through, trauma-informed practices or restorative practices or best practices in teaching reading, right? So the whole kind of gamut, but just consistently growing us as adults and passing that on to our kids so that they have that same mindset so that they can be successful in their lives and future.
Awesome. And my last question is, we've given a lot of advice. Well, not me, y'all. We have given lots of advice to parents around choices and what it means to have a Catholic education. What do you think is the most important thing for parents to understand about the school system in general, not just Catholic education, but the school system in general when they're navigating the St. Louis area to try to find a place for their child?
I think one really important thing that I kind of touched upon earlier was that partnership between home and school. The reason that all of those all of those people in that school building are working there. They're not doing it for the money, right? They're doing it because they love kids and they want to grow kids. And so assuming positive intent, I think, is really important. And building that relationship with your child's teacher or, the staff of the principal, showing up as much as you can. I get it. I'm working full time, so I can't, do certain things at my own kids' schools, but I really try in whatever effort I can to let the school know that, hey, I'm here to partner with you, and, we can grow my child the best together. Shoot, I was going to say one more thing with that. Maybe, Julie, you go, and then I'll see if I remember.
I'll hop in it a little bit. Again, I keep bringing this really broad perspective. What I appreciate about your question is you said from a school district. So, it would be remiss if we didn't mention that Navigate STL Schools is part of our community now. You are so integral in giving people the opportunity to just objectively look at a school district. And the fact that that's what you called us, the Archdiocese of St. Louis, we are big and broad and expansive. So I have such an appreciation for your question about a parent evaluating a district. And I would probably say the biggest thing that sets us apart are the additional Catholic things that we are able to bring. So Catholic charity services and support services, counseling services. Not that other school districts don't have that, but the power of the church, especially with an archdiocese as large as ours. We cover 11 counties. We have one of the largest dioceses in North America. There's just a tremendous amount of resources that whether you're Catholic or not, once you join our school system, you actually have these things available to you. So I would say that that's one of the things I love the most about partnering with Navigate STL Schools. You're going to objectify and help us put what only we can do out on the website. And if that's something that touches a family and helps them discern in their pro and con lists, why does this district feel better than this one? Sometimes it isn't all about the education. It may be the full body that district can bring together. And that was one of the reasons that I was so excited that you and I even just had a chance to meet, to have an opportunity to put our district at the table with other terrific schools.
I do remember now when I was talking about the partnership, just a practical tip for parents and guardians. As your child's going back to school, don't be afraid to share with your child's teacher anything that, any issues that might be coming, because, the child, especially in the beginning of the year, may not feel as comfortable expressing fears or anxieties they might have, but they may do it at home with you. And so teachers want to know about those kinds of things so that they can, sometimes it's something that the teacher didn't even know about, or it was a misunderstanding from the child, right? Mm-hmm. So, obviously in a professional kind way, address those issues with the teacher, and also at the same time, share any positive things that are going on. My child really loves being in your class, or they really appreciated, my child told me all about this lesson that you did with the beach ball and this or that. That brings so much joy to educators because, like I said, they are in it because they love kids and they want to be in a school where they are growing kids to the best of their ability and to their potential. And so to get that feedback, because a lot of times I'm sure this is across any industry, right? We always hear the negative only, right? So take that extra 30 seconds or a minute to send a quick email or, stop the principal at drop off or whatever it may be, but share those positive things because those are building blocks for the relationship so that once again, your student, that partnership between home and school, when that is strong, the student's achievement is going to soar.
Where can people find you guys if they are interested in learning more about St. Cecilia, or if they're interested in learning more about scholarships?
Sure. I'll start off. So St. Cecilia School and Academy, we have a Facebook page where it's a public Facebook page. We're always posting on there different things getting into the classroom. So if you're interested and not yet, you want to, come visit this school, start there. You can find us, just a quick Google search. We're in South City on Eichelberger. We'd love to talk with you more.
There are a number of Catholic schools in the city of St. Louis, so you can always visit the Archdiocese of St. Louis website and just click on the Education tab at the top of their site. And Today and Tomorrow Educational Foundation supports scholarships at hundreds of schools across St. Louis. So if you're interested in applying for a scholarship for your child, you can go to ttef-stl.org and click on the Information for Scholarships tab.
Awesome. Thank you guys for listening to Navigate STL Schools, a podcast. You can reach these wonderful ladies with the information listed in the show notes. Thank you.